Did you know that there are some Indian companies that are listed in the US markets? Hello everybody and welcome to my YouTube channel. I'm your learning partner Sushila Hariharan, and if you're interested in a career in investment banking, trade lifecycle, OTC derivatives and hedge funds, do subscribe to my YouTube channel where we provide content-centric research-focused videos on these topics. Is it possible for an Indian company to list its shares in the US markets? Yes, it's possible through the instrument called as ADR or American Depository Receipt. So this is what happens. If the Indian company wants to make a listing of its shares in the US markets, then it must seek the regulatory approval of the United States Capital Market Regulator, that is the SEC, the Securities Exchange Commission. Over and above that, it must do a set of steps in order to get its ADRs listed. So why aren't the shares directly listed in the US markets, and what is the meaning of this ADR? The meaning of the ADR is that there is a depository bank which is holding a certain number of shares which are denominated in Indian rupees of the Indian company. On the basis of the number of shares that are listed and that are held by the investor, typically a depository bank, which is of the Indian company, in Indian rupees, then that many shares are held by the depository bank, and the depository bank issues depository receipts which are then listed and traded on the US markets. So the depository receipt has the backing of the holding of the stock in INR held by the depository bank. The DRs are listed in the US markets and they are quoted in USD. So every time the Indian stock increases in value, the ADR also tends to move in the same direction. There is also a currency arbitrage because the Indian stock is listed in INR and the US stock is listed in ADR. So there could be a currency arbitrage as well as a price arbitrage in case the two are not moving together. Then what happens to dividends? Is there a special dividend for ADR holders? No, the same dividend rate that is offered to the Indian shareholders and paid to Indian shareholders in INR is offered to the US investors and paid to the US investors, except this time around it's in USD. Have you also heard that sometimes the ADR is listed as a lot size? For example, one ADR is equal to 2 shares. This means that every time we calculate the price, we must keep in mind that one ADR is not equal to 1 share in this particular case. It can be 1 ADR is equal to 1 share. It can be 1 ADR is equal to 2 shares. It can be 1 ADR is equal to 10 shares. These are the choices and selections that the depository bank must make before listing the ADR on the stock exchange. Is this an easier option for the foreign investors? Yes, but not so much for the foreign institutional investors, more for the foreign retail investors to participate in India's growth story via the few stocks that are listed in the ADR market. For the Indian company, it gives a great mileage because it gets listed on the US markets. There is a greater brand recognition, there is a greater market recognition of its efforts, of its activities, and therefore Indian companies want to get their shares listed in the depository segment in the US markets. Is it a good investment option for the American investors? Yes, it is, because they need not register themselves as fund houses in India and can directly participate in the stock trading of the Indian stocks by participating in the ADR market. And of course, the dividend also is paid in USD to the shareholders of the ADRs. Thank you so much.